What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 2 of Rise of the Machines. I'm Chris Eaton,
I'm Benny, Bionic Benny.
Bionic Benny, and we made it to number 2, which is a big accomplishment with these podcasts these days. I got to tell you.
Definitely.
So just making it to number 2. What did you think of the first one?
Oh man, I thought the first one, I was listening to myself and I was like, man, there's some good information being put out there with just listening to my own self. I was like, you know what? This is actually going to work out.
Yeah. I had friends that were not amputees listen to it, and they were like, "I love you guys together." You guys are really, the flow of the conversation was very natural, right? So again, we're doing this once a month, and I was actually wanting to do it a little bit more. Like earlier, I was like, "Yo, I got to talk to Benny." Like a
Yeah.
couple of things happened this month where I was going to talk to you, but then I was like, "Let me just wait till we record again."
Yeah.
Um, so I would like to talk about assistive devices today. Okay,
Yeah.
um, couple of things like crutches, walkers, wheelchairs, like everything that you need when you get home from rehab for the first time, right?
Yeah, because it's all a process. Yep. You need certain
Yeah.
things at certain
So
times.
it was when you first got home. Did you use a walker a lot, like to go to the bathroom to get around the house?
So I did have a walker available at times, but it was there. But I didn't use it as much as, of course, the wheelchair. Because then me, I would say I used the wheelchair too much.
Hmm.
So that's where you start to get a little bit lazy, I would say. But it depends on your
Yeah.
situation, right? But yeah, like I would use the walker um, every so often to get like to a short distance. But me, I didn't feel like I had the walker down because of this hand. So I
Right.
was, there was, some situations where I just had a wheelchair to the bathroom and then hop off and then hop to the bathroom. But yeah, using the walker was very limited unless I was at the therapy. Then I would use the walker there to actually when I was using my prosthetic.
Right. Okay. So you got put on a prosthetic a lot quicker than I did, right? I believe.
Yeah, from the get a little bit. I think okay for my situation, it was a little bit too quick because I had a lot of weight gain and all that stuff. So,
Right.
but yeah,
Yeah. See, I'm diabetic, right? So it took forever for the incision to even heal, right?
yeah,
So while that, for anybody that knows, and for anybody who is diabetic and they have the same thing happen to them, it takes you longer to heal, right? And it took probably about 5 months or 4 months for the whole thing to heal, right? So I would have to go to the doctors, they would have to check it out all the time, and then they would have to approve me for even going into rehab and applying for the prosthetic, right? So when they did do that, it happened relatively quick. But I was just thinking, like, I use the walker still, like, to hop to the bathroom, right?
yeah,
Like that, because the bathroom has that little half an inch lip that starts
yeah.
to
It's you can't put a wheelchair in most bathrooms.
well, yeah, mine either. And the one door in the house that the wheelchair doesn't fit into is the bathroom, right? So,
Yeah, yeah,
uh, so I use the walker still now to go into the bathroom. But I was just thinking about you with the wrist problem too. But
yeah.
like that, yeah, I don't know if I could do it if I had the wrist problem like you had, because fuck, you have to. Like, I put a lot of weight on my shoulders all the time. You
So
know,
that's a big reason why I didn't use the walker as much in the beginning is because it was too much pressure. With this whole wrist was broken, right? So all the bones and all that were still healing in the beginning. Especially in the beginning, I still had a full cast. I had all
right.
this. The fingers were. It was like this half cast. I don't know what to really call it, but the fingers were a little bit exposed, so I could grab onto it, but it was very uncomfortable. And this tends to lock on versus a regular hand. It has a hook, so it locks on. So if I'm trying to unhook in the beginning, it was very sensitive because all the fingers are broken.
Right.
But now it's I'm able to use crutches a lot more easier than using a walker. Walker, I wouldn't even have to use it anymore. But if the times I did use it was basically for therapy, not so much inside the house. And you have to have those balls underneath. I don't know if you have the balls on your walker. the tennis
No,
ball.
I don't.
So the
Yeah.
tennis balls tend to have it go smoother on the floor.
Right. Right. Well, I don't use the walker at any other time
Yeah,
uh but to go to the bathroom, right? So, um it's so see, I can't see myself doing the crutches yet because it's been a year and I'm kind of just getting on crutches now
it's a
to get
workout too.
and I have the prosthetic that I'm slowly but surely, getting. Matter of fact, my prosthetic guy is coming in next Friday for a refit on it.
Oh,
And
nice.
yeah, I gotta tell you, I'm getting a little frustrated, man. I'm getting a little frustrated. Not angry. Yeah, no, a little bit angry. Um, but I'm more mad at the situation. It's not like I'm like, oh damn it, I only have one leg, feel sorry for me. It's like I thought that the walking would be easier, but
Oh yeah,
you know
can I tell you something about that too? I saw your timeline. Or your mind. It's a good mindset to say I'm gonna walk at this show or I want to do this at this time.
mm,
But sometimes it takes a little bit longer because you're gonna run into issues. You're gonna run into like because once you get out of the hospital, you're like I'm gonna start walking right away.
right,
But
right.
man, you're on your own pace. So yeah, you can't get you can't
What I
don't get
didn't
mad at yourself.
realize was how strong the residual limb has to be
Yep,
before it could handle the prosthetic leg. And the prosthetic leg,
100%.
I found out about 2 weeks ago that it's only 10 pounds, right? Because I was at my prosthetic place and they were like, "How much do you think this weighs?" And I'm like, like 35 pounds."
It
And she was
depends, I think, man, because mine's is huge. Because I have, at the time I got mine. Yeah,
right.
you're probably right. Yeah, I think it's probably right, like 10 to 20 pounds, depending on the size of the leg.
I thought it was like a bag of cement on me, right?
That's
so,
what it feels like. Yeah,
like I just may as well put a bag of cement on my nub and tried to walk with that.
yeah,
But she says it's only 10 pounds. And I'm like, no way is it only 10 pounds. Right. Because even my father helps me when I go to rehab. Like I'll wheel out, he carries the leg to the car, right?
yeah,
And and he's like, yeah, this thing, I'm surprised this thing is so heavy. And I'm like, right? It's stupid heavy, right?
yeah, yeah.
The girl at PT actually put it on a scale for me, and it was only like 9.9 pounds. And I was like, damn it,
Wow.
now I feel like a little girl complaining that
So
I'm just
I actually haven't weighed mine. I think you might be spot on because then I always thought mine was like probably closer to 20 or 30 because just how the top portion's a lot bigger because I was a little bit heavy set at the
right.
time.
Mm.
But honestly, that's probably the lighter portion because all the hardware is the heavier portion versus the
And
top.
past the knee. Yeah, it's past the knee. The light
Yeah,
part is probably what
up
we put
top.
on. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, and I'm even though it's only 10 pounds, your residual limb has to really work it as far as kicking back and everything. And what's happening to me is that since I'm a year in this chair now, everything is either lost muscle. I can't stand up straight. Like the pain of standing up straight after a year in the chair.
yeah.
Yeah, that shit drives me crazy.
Does your stump tend to want to stay up or at a
All
certain
the time.
level?
All the time. I'll be laying
Yeah,
in bed. That shit'll just pop up. like,
You're not lying. Well, that was more me in the beginning, but I did workouts and exercises that help that. But there
right.
does you're not lying. That's one thing that they practice to like then you use those bands. I don't know if you use the bands and all that.
Yeah, I use the bands all the time now. But like the
Yeah.
thing that I got to be honest with you, for the last maybe 6 or 8 months, I've gotten pretty lazy. But
Oh, it
since we
happens.
started doing this again and everything, I'm doing all the exercise at home now. I'm doing
Yeah.
multiple things. I'm keeping the bands on pretty much all day. I
Yeah.
have a shrinker on, pretty much every night, and I'm just trying to get the limb stronger. And for the first time, I reached down and felt, and I was like, there's a little bit of muscle there today, you know. So I'm
Yeah.
thrilled to death. So when you find out little things like that, it really it pumps up your motivation a lot more to see that it's actually working, because being in a chair and not doing anything for a year, first of all, your body gets wrecked, right? So you
Oh
got to
yeah,
fix it. But when you see a little bit of results after a little bit of work, it makes you want to work out more, you know?
100%. I
Yeah.
agree. Hey,
Um,
can I ask you about your walker? Well,
yeah.
the one that you used to go to the bath. What kind of walker is that? The normal type of walker, or do you have like one of those like because there's different types. Like there's the ones that have like they're a little bit higher up. Um, or
Oh,
is
oh
it
no,
just
this is just a normal old person walker.
the old
Uh,
school ones? Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so it's about waist high, I would say.
Okay.
And I just basically I hop to the bathroom. But again, I don't hop using my good leg like you use. I'll
Yeah, it's a
start
lot
it
of
off
rest.
on the right leg, and then I'll put the weight on my shoulders and just carry myself for those steps,
Gotcha.
into the bathroom. Whereas you would know how to hop right to the toilet or the
In
bathtub
the
or something.
beginning, it wasn't like that though. So like in the beginning, right? It was a lot of help. My sister helped me push me to. Well, she messed up her. That was her bathroom, and she would push the wheelchair through the door. It doesn't fit, and it's not meant to fit in there, so it messed up the sides and all that. But anyway, I had a lot of help in the beginning, and then she got this toilet seat that had bars on it too, and all that stuff. So there
Was
was
it
a
like
lot of.
a heightened?
Yes, it was that
Yeah,
one. Yeah, I don't know if you use that one. So that was another tool that I would use when I go to the bathroom. I didn't like that for a couple of reasons because it was height. So I'm not
right.
trying to be gross or thing, but it had the height above your toilet. So,
Yeah, there was no
so
way. My
yeah,
parents, I mean, God bless them, they were really helpful when all this happened, right? But they brought that home, and I was like, what the f is that? Right?
yeah, yeah,
Like it goes on your toilet. I'm like, I'm not using that. I'm like, there's no way I'm using that. Like, are you kidding me? Because
yeah.
that
It's
puts
not,
so much distance between like your ass
but
and the toilet, right?
yeah, it does. But honestly, okay, yes, but it's okay. It's a little bit more because to go down as low as the toilet in the beginning was a little
Mhm.
bit hard, more difficult, and then to get up right in the
Right,
beginning. Now we're
right,
both strong enough to like kind of muscle up out of that out of the toilet, and but
right.
that tool specifically. I mean, it does work, but it is weird because the distance between the toilet and where you're sitting. Um, I think they're called. That's a part of the commode, right? Is that what it's called? Or
Well, they call the commode like as far as I'm concerned, the commode is like something that you could just set up in your bedroom, and it's like a toilet seat with a bag
because I feel
underneath.
like we used to use that a portion. You would use the commode with the pan in the room.
I've never done that. No, I've never
Yeah.
done. I always
The
went
only time
straight.
I used the commode in the bathroom was when I was just out and only to go pee in there. I never. Yeah. I wouldn't
Right, right.
want. Yeah.
No, no. Well, even I would use the urinals. That they just
Oh
hit
yeah, yeah, yeah,
handheld
yeah,
urinals,
yeah,
and
yeah. Of course.
and I'll still occasionally just use those in the house when I'm being lazy because I'm
Well,
like it's such a pain in the ass to get into the bathroom every time you got to pee, right?
oh
So
yeah.
you just think, oh, I could pee right here, be clean and everything, dump it in the
Well,
toilet, just
I
flush.
I used to do the same thing, and then thankful I had family there to help me. Of course, clean up. Help me clean up. But yeah, those handheld urinals are definitely a thing, and I used that for about a good 6 months. Um,
Right.
but yeah, what else is this say about the wheelchairs? I wanted to go into that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let's talk about the crutches first, if we can,
Okay.
because I tried to use. I have both type of crutches, right? And I try. I have one hallway here, right? I mean,
Yeah.
like you only have one hallway, like unless you're like a billionaire, right? You only have one hallway in your house, right? So
Yeah.
I use that hallway for the crutches because I figure if I got to fall sideways,
Uh
at
huh.
least the wall is there to stop me,
You
right?
fall. Oh, so
Yeah.
you go. You're like shimmying through.
Well, I'm no, I'm hopping,
Oh,
right?
oh, oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
I know that if I fall sideways, the wall's only 5 inches
Walls are there. Yeah, yeah,
inside.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
at least my shoulder will catch the wall, and
Gotcha, gotcha.
as long as I keep my leg buckled and straight, right,
Yeah, yeah,
I'll be able to stand. And
yeah.
I got to tell you, I'm terrified taking that first hop. You know, And because I was thinking, this is fine if I fall to the side, but what if I fall backwards? Right? If I
Yeah,
fall backwards, there's nothing to catch me, right?
100%.
So so I have to get more used to that. Now, what I did was because I wanted to be like the cool guy, right? Because I'm still in that stage, right? Well, like
Yeah.
I'm not, I'm not gonna use crutches like a handicapped person. So I bought these to start with, right? These are the
Oh, those are nice ones, man.
yeah, no, these are definitely cool. And they got the cool, the cool nub, like in case I'm going camping like Benny's going, right?
Yeah.
I looked out. I made sure I
That
got extra ones in this.
that bottom, yeah, that bottom portion, that's what you need.
It has a nub rest on it, right? And yeah, you could just rest your nub or your other leg, on it.
What? I never
Yes,
saw. That's a
just comes
cool
down.
one.
It's purple, so it's cool, right? It has
Yeah.
the bike hand grips. I mean, these things cost me like $200, right? And
Yeah, that's a fancy one right
but
there.
and I'm not used to like these things. Like knowing that my
Yeah.
arms are in these, I'm like I'm only going to be able to move my arms straight like this, you know.
Yeah, yeah, like a robot.
And I thought it would be easier, kind of pushing down, right,
Okay.
on the walker, and it is not. Okay, it is not. I feel terrified when I use these.
You
Okay,
will, 100%.
yeah. Um, I don't really like it. Now, they mentioned to me that it's better to use those crutches with the leg on, right? If I'm kind of walking, you know, and if I'm
It's a
not
lot of
walking,
balance. Once you figure out your
yeah.
balance, you'll get it. You'll enjoy those.
Well, then, so I got these, okay, and these are the more like traditional ones. And again, I remembered what you said. I said if I go camping like that, right?
That I need that though. I haven't got that. I got the normal one, right? But
Oh, the
because
one that
that
right over to it, yeah.
I need to
This is
order that. I need
yeah,
to order that foot pet with the foot portion of that.
yeah. This is definitely very cool. And of course, I had to get black because I'm gonna be at these shows. People slap stickers on these things and all that. Um, I feel more comfortable on those, the black ones, right?
Okay.
But the first time I went in the hallway and used them, I had them too high, right? So,
Oh yeah, yeah,
and I was like, I made it all the way to my bedroom, and then I turned around, and then I hopped one hop, and I said, I'm gonna fall backwards, right? There's no way I'm not gonna fall backwards, right? So, and then I was like, if you fall backwards, you're gonna smash your head on
it's
the
scary.
wood part of the bed, right?
Yeah.
So I haven't really used these anyway, these either. So that's kind of the thing I got to get past because I got a feeling with these, if I'm just using the crutches, I could be a lot more mobile. I could just go to the car. It's a lot easier to go to the car, take the crutches out and go someplace,
Yeah.
as opposed to bringing the wheelchair with me wherever I go. Right. So that's what my next attempt is over the next month or so.
So for example, for when I use crutches nowadays, I would for example for the holidays, there's a lot of people in the house, right? There's a lot of like, there's your family's over and all that stuff. So you have a lot of people. The wheelchair is kind of in the way. But
Right.
see, I'm in a different condition than you where I'm able to crutch around pretty easy. So what I'll do is I'll just use the crutches at like family parties or houses that have limited floor space. I'll use the
Hmm.
crutches and I'll crutch around everywhere I have to go. And I do get assistance. But the hard part is carrying something while crutching,
Right.
especially with my hand being messed up. That's the hard part about crutches or any of those. If you're not in the wheelchair and you're amputee, trying to hop with something is a little bit more difficult, especially if it's a drink, unless it has a lid on it. Hopping
Yeah.
with a drink is not going to work out. You're gonna have no drink by the time you get to where you're trying to get. But that's where I would use crutches. Other than the hiking portion of everything, I would use crutches on more recently in during the holidays. I would just use the crutches majority of the time and just leave the wheelchair back in the car.
When you're at home, you're in the chair most of the time.
I think all the time. I never use crutches at all in my house. If I do hop, it's in the bathroom or around the kitchen.
Mm.
But I have now because yeah, now I have a wheelchair in every single area of the house.
Right.
Like I think one in the backyard, one in because there's it's like little floors. It's not like a two-story house by any means. Just but there's a couple stairs here and there just to get down
Right.
to the backyard, and every little floor space kind of has its own wheelchair, just from my beginning wheelchairs, and all that. So, but yeah, the crutches are very useful, but and the cane is very useful, but you gotta get the balance down in the beginning. It takes a little bit, probably over a year, probably closer to the 2 year mark is where you figure out you almost master the balance
Right.
almost. A lot of strengthening that one single leg and doing the standing exercises that I talked about in the last podcast is
Right.
standing for a good amount of portion of time to, like 30 seconds at a time in the beginning, then move up to a minute, then 2 minutes, and, gradually and now do it to 10 minutes. But just doing that balance of standing on that leg for a certain amount of time will help you with the crutches and doing the cane. And like I said, the canes, it's you're gonna. I think I least likely like those for hiking with one leg. When you're hiking or doing anything like that, that you don't want to use that. You want to use the crutches. But
Right.
I that's my least favorite. Like you kind of mentioned, that's your kind of like least favorite is those wrist
Yeah, but
canes.
you know what? They're my least favorite, but they're the coolest looking ones
They're
I
the
have.
coolest, man.
Yeah,
Yeah, I would prefer to use those. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. You and me both. They have a little. I don't have the battery in right now, but there's
Oh
a
yeah, you're
light.
mentioning this.
They have a light, like a headlight, right here that you
That's
just turn
insane.
on when you're walking at night, so people could hear you limping,
Yeah.
when you're coming, and actually see you. So it's they're definitely cool things, but I definitely feel like I wasted a ton of money. The first thing I'm going to do
Nah.
next time, or my recommendation to anybody losing a leg, is don't buy the most expensive one right off the bat and see if you like it first. Okay,
Yeah. True.
it's worth spending a quarter of the money to see if you like it, as opposed to just like I'm going to be moving around in a week with these things. But like the crutch doesn't make your ability to walk any better.
Well, no, it's the same.
Uh,
The one that would make the difference, I would say, is if you got something a little bit more fancier, invest more in your crutches. Is that bottom? What is it called? The foot padding or whatever of the bigger portion of your
yeah,
crutches.
yeah. The,
So
the, the,
I feel like that I haven't gotten those, but I would feel like those would be more beneficial if you're going to add something or want something because it has more surface area. So that
right,
way you can it's a little bit more grip.
right,
Versus the other ones, I like you were talking about pricing and all that. Yes, like those, I would invest into those. Because I have like the old school crutches. That's where I started off. I had a pair from somebody else. I think the bottoms started to wear out already
right,
and it poked through. And a lot had to do with my first hike because you're abusing that, and it wasn't meant for hiking. Like those ones would be better for hiking that bottom portion, but I messed them up. And when I was crutching on my recent trip to Washington, I was in my uncle's garage, and concrete to the bottom. I didn't realize how much metal was showing because they poked through eventually,
right.
and it slipped and I freaking fell and that right on my nub. I might have mentioned that before where that was one of my falls. But yeah, I think the one with the foot padding, the foot padding would be a good investment versus you don't need nothing fancy or anything crazy. But you know what? I may get the black now that I see your black crutches. I now that I've been using mine, I think I
Right.
might get those for because that'll be kind of cool for hiking and all that.
Right, and what kind of cool showing up at like a reptile show with the black crutches and not the old
Yeah.
man crutches, right? Like that.
You're the old
that
school, yeah. Everyone has, yeah.
but like I was so paranoid at first, like, no, I don't want that. People look at me and say, oh, he's he's not capable of doing things. And I fought the handicap placard in the car. I fought that like crazy until uh Costco was crowded and I was able to pull right up front to the
Yeah, man. I take those parking. I mean, in the beginning, it was a little weird for me because like you got to adjust to it, right? Like, are you
right,
handicapped or not in your head?
right.
But yeah, dude, when it comes to those busy parking lots and all that stuff, it's very beneficial.
Yeah, now I have zero problem doing it.
Yeah. Oh
Um,
yeah.
we could keep talking about this, but next month I'm gonna go on a plane for the first time.
Oh
Uh,
really?
So since you've done it before, do you have to like buy your ticket through the airline to get like the first 5 seats or anything like that?
No, no. So like we all board, and anybody with disability or handicap, it always boards first. Was that your
Right.
question? Yeah.
Well,
So
yeah, yeah. I wanted to make sure, like, because I don't think the wheelchair could fit through the aisle, right, of a plane.
no. So that's one thing. So okay, yeah. So I'm able in the beginning. Okay, so yeah, you're able to board first. In the beginning, my first flight, it might have been to Tinley. I don't remember if it was Tinley or Animal Con. It might have been Animal Con. So it was my first flight, and they put me in a aisle chair. They're called. They're very skinny. They're meant to go down the aisles. Your wheelchair, you put it. They push you to the actual door of the plane, and then they put you in. They transfer you to an aisle chair. For me, the aisle chair, I was a lot bigger then, right? When I was using the aisle chair, and my shoulders, when they push you down this aisle, they couldn't
Right,
get me down the aisle. It was just way too big, and I was just boom, boom, and they have to seatbelt you, so you're strapped into this aisle chair, and you're sitting there, you can't move, and you're just like this. You feel like
you're
it
like
just
Hannibal Lecter.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So, I mean, yes, so you're able to do it, but if you're not able to hop, because what I do now is just use the chairs as crutches, especially if
Right,
you're the first to if you're first to board, it's easier to grab the head the chairs
right, right.
and
That's what I thought.
use them as crutches. But if you're not able to do it, then yes, they do have the option of aisle chairs, and sometimes you got to wait on the aisle chairs. And another thing with flying is you're first to go on, but you're last to get off. So if
Right,
you
right.
have to
That
get
that I totally expected already. The
yeah
thing that I was worried about is, what if you got to pee mid-flight? I'm sure they don't
that
want a 200-pound dude hopping,
so
on the flying plane.
yep, that's why you gotta use the bathroom beforehand. And nowadays it's a little bit more easier for me to go to the bathroom. It's still very scary with my balance, even at where I'm at now, because if
Mhm.
that plane shifts a little bit, I
Right,
can't. Now there's a risk of me falling. And
right,
what I tell people nowadays is I try to take the window seat. It can be because this is the thing. It can be very beneficial to you taking the window seat because you don't have to get up and down for the person that's sitting next to you.
right, right,
Because I tell people it's if I get up in the beginning, if I couldn't get up at all, so I would take the window seat. I would purchase the seat, or I would ask them, ahead of time. I say, hey, I can't get up and down easily. Can I just take the window seat? But yeah, if you have to go to the bathroom and you're on a window seat, then that's, I mean, of course, you have to ask the people to get up, but it's a little bit more, difficult. But yeah, using the bathroom beforehand is the best. That's what you got to start to adjust to do, or
yeah,
just
and I figure it's only an hour flight, right? So
yeah. If you're not going
you
to go
know,
too
it's okay.
far, sometimes you just got to use the bathroom before and hold it half the time. There was been a couple times where I had to get up and go to the bathroom, and they help you, they assist you with everything, but it depends on your condition. What if you're in the situation with if your balance is not a whole lot, that's gonna be a little bit more difficult, right? Because you're gonna have to work with the balance of the plane and the limited stuff to grab.
Right, right,
Because when you have to go to the bathroom and there's people sitting, it's a little bit more harder. But I still, because I'm tall enough to like grab the top portions of like the luggage area,
right,
of the plane. So I could go like this with me myself.
right.
If so, but it depends, your condition too.
Yeah, no, no. I'm pretty confident in myself that I could do that and use the chairs for balance and just hop. But there's that 4 to 6 foot area where there's no chairs left, and you
Yeah,
and you have to worry
yeah.
about getting that 6 feet.
You
I'm
could,
like,
but then you
oh,
could ask for help. Then, yeah, you know what I'm saying. You could always ask for help, and I always tend to tell people, "I'll just give you your shoulders, and I'll hop slowly," or because if you do the
right.
hand thing, it's still a little bit awkward or whatever. But,
Well, what I figure is just I'm not going to drink anything for 3 days before I go, right? And
okay,
then
yeah,
this way I won't
three
have to
day,
go
3 days.
3 days. Yeah, I'm going to play
That's a
it
lot.
totally safe, right?
Or still, yeah, I would drinking too much coffee gets me going or anything like that. But like, I have to have my coffee in the morning. But I don't have that issue anymore, and I kind of got flight because I fly a lot further now because I'm on the West Coast, right?
Right.
So all the shows I go to are on the East Coast, and my flights are a little bit longer. But yeah, I tend to have to get to the bathroom, and it's not, and especially once you're in the bathroom, it's still not easy. It's a little tight, and
Oh,
it's like
yeah.
trying to balance in there. If the plane starts to hop around, you're trying to balance it. Yeah,
Right.
it's a whole it's
Yeah.
an
Well,
experience. You got to experience it for yourself too at the same time.
it's definitely going to be an experience. Uh, but yeah, I figured I was going to be a thing. And something that I did this month. Again, we'll get back to all the stuff that we're going to talk about in a minute. I actually sat in a normal chair for the first time in a year. Okay,
First time.
first time at my
Yeah.
desk. You know,
Well,
because
that's actually a normal thing. I would say it takes a very long time. I'm from the beginning. It was always in my wheelchair. Yeah.
mm, yeah, I figured it was just easier to pull up to the desk in the wheelchair and just start working and just start doing whatever I got to do. But yeah, I was looking and I was like, I spent like $600 on this gaming chair that
Oh.
I didn't sit
Oh,
in.
so it has wheels, right, and all
It
that.
has wheels,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
luckily, this place, this is where my main office area is. So this is my main desk. This is a tight enough thing where and it's on a rug, where if it slides back a little bit, it's going to hit a wall. Okay,
Okay.
so it won't be able to. So I'm confident that I can just get in and out. And that was a big thing for me to actually sit in a normal people sized chair
Yeah.
for 8 or 10 hours. So I was really thrilled with myself for doing that. And you start thinking like, what the fuck? You're congratulating yourself for sitting in a chair all day. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
I mean,
dude, it's a different chair than I've been sitting in for the last year. So,
so that's what I do. That's what I do at restaurants. I go to the
right,
normal. I prefer to sit at a regular chair versus sit in the wheelchair. It kind of normalizes. It makes you feel like you're normal again.
right.
That you know.
I do the same thing in restaurants. Normally, they'll especially when the wheelchairs can just fold up, right? So
Yeah.
normally they'll do that for you, and I tend to try to sit in normal chairs too. So
Yeah.
it does normalize the experience. Takes you away from being the crippled dude amongst your group of friends and puts you on an even playing field with them, right? Like
yeah. Yeah.
so. Um, but wheelchairs, I mean, the wheelchair saved me all year, and
Oh, 100%.
we both got new wheelchairs in the last month.
I know, and we didn't even talk to you. We haven't even told each other about it.
Yeah. Um, tell me about yours. Maybe this will help some people out there.
So I got mine through a family member who actually works at one of these facilities. It's like a handy, they supply handicap accessories and
Right.
wheelchairs, and she's been trying to work on getting me one for a while, and he was able to actually get me one. This one's super fancy. To me, it's fancy. I haven't looked at the pricing on it, but so like the one that I'm here, I keep that one that it's in the truck right now, but the one I'm in here is the basic medical ones that your insurance would provide you. It
Right.
depends. Sometimes your insurance would provide you with a little bit nicer of a one if you have a reason for it half the time. But this one, the wheels come off, and I never had one with the wheels come off. I mentioned that in the last podcast
Right.
that that's what you usually look into. But man, having that one with the wheels come off is nice, but yet it's a pain in the butt at the time right now because I usually just throw my wheelchair in the back of my bed. But now, and I was never able to put a wheelchair in the back of my truck because it wouldn't fit, right? So,
Right.
because mine were always the bulky wheelchair, so I just throw in the truck bed. So when it rains, it gets weathered. It gets all the weather, right? So it gets
Right.
rained on a little bit, but I could wipe it down. It's no problem. The rain doesn't affect me too much as long as the padding's off. But this wheelchair, man, it is the one of the nicer ones. And then with the wheels pop off, he gave me a backup pair of tires or rims, and
Mhm.
he gave me one with spokes, and the other one's a little bit. I forget what these wheels are called.
The plastic ones.
The plastic
Oh,
ones.
the rubber, yeah.
So I have both pairs. But yeah, having that luxury of taking off the wheels and putting the wheelchair inside versus leaving it in the outside of the truck or in the trunk or somewhere where it can't fit, it's so not. That's what I like. But when you get your destination, you have to put the wheels on. You got to build it
Yeah.
back, which it's very fast. But to me, it's a little bit. It's not a hassle. But what I tend to do the last couple of days is just Would I build it when I get to my destination? I still bring my other wheelchair, so I carry around two wheelchairs. I'll figure that out sooner or later just to bring the one.
Right.
But I use a wheelchair from the front of the house to my truck with the wheelchair that I would normally use. And then when I get to my destination, I pull out the fancy new wheelchair and build it. And then when I'm not, I'll go to like the gym or go to the grocery store or whatever, and I'll continue to put in the back of the bed of the truck. And then when I'm done, I'll put it inside. But man, having that new wheelchair is it's definitely cool to have that one. It's one of the cooler. It's the nicest wheelchair I ever had. I have to take care of it. But yeah, what kind of wheelchair did you get?
I got one. It's a little bit smaller width wise, right?
Yeah, yeah, same as
So
that one.
the first thing I noticed is me just flying through the doorways in the house and not hitting anything. Like when
Oh
you
yeah,
normally would wheel through
yep.
the thing and you'd hear that scrape on the door. Right?
I would love to show you my door. This door is messed up from the wheelchair. This door, I
No,
have to
well,
repair so
mine
much,
too.
but I'll do it later.
Mine
Yeah,
too. And this way, and with this new one, I just glide right through, like nothing hits at all, right?
nice.
And that's the
Yeah.
first thing I noticed about it. But then the other thing I got noticed is it does have the removable wheels also.
Oh,
Okay, so
so it does. This
yeah,
is your
so
first one with that?
it's the first one with it. I didn't
What are the
try
chances of
doing
both of us getting our first ones? That's crazy.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll be learning together because I'm going to start. I haven't taken this one out and taken it apart yet, and I'm gonna take it apart a bunch of times
It's
indoors.
the button, right? On yours, the same thing. It's just the
It's
button you
just
push
button,
out.
yeah, and it comes
Yeah.
out, yeah,
Hmm.
and it still has the hard rubber or plastic spokes, but the tire is like a bike tire, like on a
Yeah.
like when you were a kid and you had a bike,
Yeah.
so it has the
Same.
treads on it and all that.
Yeah.
Um,
Same as those ones. Yeah.
and you
These
could
ones
go
don't have
in
the treads.
you could go in the dirt and all that, like, and this one's still fine.
Yeah.
Um, this one is so like you could fit right into the desk and pull right into the desk and all that. Because what people don't know is if you have a day job and you have a wheelchair with the full armrest, the
Yeah.
armrests go out enough to where you're still like this distance away from whatever table you're at.
Yeah.
This one has the tapered armrest on it, so you could just pull right all the way up to the table or the desk. Um,
My question about your armrest: how long do yours is still on? Your original ones from your other wheelchair are still good? Mine always go out. I have every single wheelchair I had since this new one. They always go out, but basically, because the reason why they go out is because I throw in the truck bed. The truck bed kind of messes them up. The throwing in and out and rubbing against the truck bed maybe as I'm driving.
I,
They
I
don't
I
last.
I had to get new arms once
You,
for the old, yeah, actually two times already for
okay,
each
so you
chair.
just replace
I got
them.
two other chairs. But mainly because what I do is I do exercise in the chair, so I'll
Okay,
lift myself in the chair and
yeah,
all that, like lift the whole body weight
little
out of the
dips. Yeah, yeah,
chair. Yeah. So what happened was the pad would slip eventually and get unscrewed and come off. So I would buy new ones for that.
yep.
But this one I don't have to because they're already tapered. I'll tell you, this chair is so good. You spend enough time in this chair, you almost wish you were handicapped. Okay, because it's it's so comfortable, right? It
Oh,
and it took a lot of getting used to of the 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 narrower seat,
yeah, 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 yeah.
um,
100%.
but
Because you
that's
used to
really it.
that wide seat. Yeah.
Right. And then all my cushions from the old seats I got to really jam in here, right? So I bought a couple of new ones for the new one. Um cushion
How thick
wise,
is your padding on yours?
it's like that, and then it has the I buy all my cushions from Cushion Lab.
Okay.
So it's a company that just makes like padding for seating for everybody else all day.
Because the one I'm on right now is it's a little bit thinner one, but man, this new one I got that because he hooked me up with a nice new padding. This thing's like 5-6 inches, man. This thing's
Yeah.
tall, and so I'm sitting up high already. But luckily, I have longer legs.
Yeah,
But
that's
yeah,
about how high that one is. So I bought a new one and I put it on the regular chair that I've been sitting in.
okay,
Because I realized that sitting in the gamer chair, I was like, this shit is hard. Like this shit
yeah,
is nowhere near as comfortable as my wheelchair. What could I
yeah,
do
yeah.
to make it as comfortable as my wheelchair, right?
That's the thing. We don't need it, but we're so used to using cushions. When we go into a
Right.
regular chair, it's very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It probably wouldn't be if we didn't use cushions all the time, but we need cushions in our wheelchair because we're just sitting all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I go into like a kitchen table at my family's house or something like that, I'm like, man, I only can sit so long. And luckily they have cushions because there's a couple other handicapped people in my family. So, luckily I have the luxury of having cushions there. But yeah, cushions are definitely,
Yeah.
beneficial.
These ones that I buy, they're $90 a piece, but
Okay.
man, they're
They're worth
comfortable.
it.
They're
Yeah.
totally worth it. But plus, you gotta have like these memory foam air gel seats. You don't want to have like, because basically you're sitting all day. You don't want to get a bed sore or anything. You
Yeah.
get a bed sore and that becomes infected, and then you're in the worse trouble than when you were. Then
Yeah.
you're in trouble for just sitting down all day, right? So,
Yeah.
um, so that's why I get these cushions, and I haven't looked back since. I just get them all the time now.
Yeah, because then I had a couple cushions where they were the gel type. I don't know if you use the gel type,
One
but
time,
the gel type, the one I had, it was comfortable, but when it exploded, it would leak out everywhere, like
oh,
these little
oh
gel things,
yeah,
and it
yeah,
would just leak on the floor. And if there's dogs in your house or if there's baby kids, that's when I was living at my sister's house. I had to just get rid of that thing. Well, it was done anyway, but I don't I don't recommend those if you have like if because they only last so long. But I think a partial thing it depends on your weight.
yeah.
Weight on wheelchairs, weight on the padding, everything depends on weight. Because like I said, at my heaviest, I had one of the spoke wheelchairs, and the spoke ones, and my friends, it was partially the reason it was abused, probably. I feel like you should be able to abuse the wheelchairs a little bit. They should
Right.
make them a little bit all wheelchairs, but my friends would just push me all the time, and they would push me to like if we're gonna go fishing, we would go. They push me a little bit off road situations.
Right.
There were the off road wheelchairs too with the bike tires,
Right.
but the spokes would bend. You know what I'm saying? So
Right. Yeah.
when the
Yeah.
when the spokes would bend, I would they would just go out on you.
Well,
Yeah,
then you need a whole new wheel at that point.
yeah,
Um, I don't mind. Like if I ever start playing basketball at the Y with the other crippled guys, I'll worry about the loss of weight to the chair so I could be faster. But until then, I'm happy with these these plastic ones that don't bend at all. Right? Um,
yeah.
it's just so much easier. Um,
Yeah, because that's why I have both. I have the option of both, and I'm gonna try to work with the spoke one for a little bit. I'm probably gonna switch it out. It's so easy to switch them out when if you ever get a backup pair. He
mm,
showed me it's the same thing as putting on the tire is just as easy to switch out and put a new rim. You just put that little tool back in, a little screw. So if you ever
well,
want to get a backup,
that's what I was planning to do. As soon as I got this, I was like, I got to go outside, right? Like I
yeah,
got to go do something,
let's get a little test
And
drive.
of course, now it's snowing in New York, so
Oh
I'm
man, I
gonna
can't
go outside.
imagine that with the wheelchair. Oh,
Yeah,
you know what? Speaking of snow, I had my first snow experience. Sorry to go off subject, but my first snow experience this past Saturday in Reno. So we went down there on a little friends trip, and had to go to the bathroom very bad, right? And speaking of going to the bathroom, and I was like, I can't get my wheelchair on this, and I don't trust I don't know what I had the confidence, but man, that was a very sketch situation because I could have injured my knee or my leg, if,
right.
just by slipping on the snow. But you can't get around on the snow with a wheelchair.
Oh
So
no,
I had to
not even. Yeah,
yeah. So that's one thing I had to figure out, and I didn't have crutches or I didn't have those tools. I usually I have a bunch of crutches. All my crutches are in my truck. So that way I could use them when I need to, and I have the wheelchair there. I always have some type of mobility, always in my extra mobility in my truck. But when I'm with my friends, I only brought what was needed.
right.
And I was thinking that we're just gonna go play out in the snow because the trip is Reno, which Reno there's not in the city of Reno. We drove through Tahoe, that's where the snow was at. Reno
Yeah,
also had a little bit of snow, but on the main city portion it didn't. But yeah, dealing with snow on the one leg as an amputee is a little bit more difficult. It's a little bit more scarier
yeah.
because you don't have that stability. You could slip at any time. But yeah, it depends on. how thick the snow is and all that.
Yeah, the here I have a spot in my parking lot, right, which is right outside my building. Then I have a
Yeah,
spot in the garage, which is right under the building, right? And I was like, okay, now that I'm in a wheelchair for the next year or two, I can't park in my garage spot, right? Because there's a step in the garage, there's two steps, there's a dip, right? So I was like, I can't go down there with the wheelchair. So I
yeah,
parked it, outside, and it snowed, and my parking lot becomes like a sheet of ice, right?
oh yeah,
And I rolled to my car. All I had to do was push myself once in the direction of the car,
yeah,
and the ice momentum took me all the way to the car, right? Fucking,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then I was like, shit, but I have to stand up to get what I need in the car. And that was terrifying. Still, like putting your one good leg on ice that you don't know
yeah,
if it's gonna fall
yeah,
right out from under you. I mean, it's there's definitely like adjustments you have to make too, like according to where you live. Like where you live, it's probably not gonna snow, right?
no, not here. No, we have to
Yeah,
drive the snow.
yeah, here like 5 months a year, there's a possibility of snow, right? So,
Yeah,
um, and that part sucks because if I get to a little bit of a snow drift too, even if I'm wheeling in the snow and I'm doing okay, I get to a little snow drift, and I'm like, yeah, that's gonna have to be shoveled in front of me before I could go around that. Or if they pile up the snow like behind my car, like they have the plows here that just will move the snow, but they'll pack your car in, and you're
yeah.
like,
Oh,
you'll be able to get around that. That's when I call an Uber. And I'm just like,
okay.
yeah, too much.
Yeah,
Um, the Ubers have been very helpful. The guy comes out, he takes your wheelchair, he puts it in the trunk for you. You get
yeah.
in the
In the beginning, I was unsure about Ubers, right? Because I was unsure about if they would take the wheelchair. In my head, I was like, Can they take the wheelchair? You know what I'm saying? And I was choosing the option of the disability, the vans or bigger trucks,
XL.
or the XL or disability. There's actually a disability option on there,
Oh, I
and
never used that one.
uh,
Okay.
out here at least there is. And I was choosing the disability option. I think it's relatively the same price, but then I started using the regular one. People just throw in the back of their trunk. They have that space, so you can use whatever, which one. And I use Uber throughout many trips. So, yeah,
Yeah,
I
what I
mean,
would do is I'll book the XL through Uber, but then I'll message the guy once they assign a driver. I'll
yeah.
message and say, "Look, I have a foldable wheelchair. Do you have room in your vehicle for it?"
I don't
And
think it's an issue. It's not. I don't think the amount of Uber rides I took now. I have never ran into an issue with any of them taking the wheelchair. I never. Oh, you know what? I've been denied once, but I don't think the guy wanted to take me on this hour-long drive to the airport. It was from Tinley, and he pulled up there and he saw the luggage, he saw the wheelchair, and that's when he canceled me. But that's the only time. But then I called somebody else which had a smaller vehicle, and then they took me.
right, right. Well, that's the thing with the wheelchair, right? Like with the luggage, it's you always have to make sure you have somebody with you. Like the days of me traveling alone are pretty much gone right now. At least until I get used to what I have to do to
Well,
travel alone.
I mean, okay, so this is let's see if you want to go back into that really quick. I travel alone for majority of my trips.
Yeah,
I
no, I
do
know
this.
you do. I know, but you're like a pro. I'm like
Okay, but look, so once you get to your destination, let's just say you get to the gate. If you have the power, that's the hard part. You have the power to is from where you park, or if you Uber, if you get dropped off, then that's even better. But if you park at the airport, which I do occasionally,
mm,
then you have to get from there to the actual gate where the to the airline, what are those people, like Alaska
right,
Airlines or
checking
South.
people.
So
Yeah,
once you get to them, then you could ask them, I need assistance. So you could get, like, for you don't have to push yourself all the way to the gate, to the actual where you're gonna fly to. You could go to the front before security, and they'll push you through security, and they'll push you throughout the whole airport. But sometimes those guys they expect tips, which I give them a little bit of money, but They do supply that at airports. That's one thing. If you were afraid of flying alone.
Right. Yeah. No, I just like my first trip I'm going to take next month. It's going to be with a couple of guys I know, right?
Okay.
And a couple
Yeah.
of guys I know are great because they do whatever they can to like help me, you know.
Hmm.
Um, and but at the same time, I'm thinking, what if I was going alone, and I had to, bring a piece of luggage with me?
Yeah.
um, then you got to one hand it with the wheel, with the luggage there.
So depending on how strong you are, so this is you could one hand it. You could so I would with me what I do is I do it all every type of way. So if I have a backpack, the backpack's in the back. The downside of backpacks, they do mess up your backrest. If you have like a leather one, they do tear that over time. But
Right,
with me, I would keep it like, let's say example Tinley, I would have it for the whole weekend back there, so I could grab camera gear. But
mm,
it tends to rip it slowly and mess it up.
right,
Uh, so let's see. I'll have the backpack, and I'll have the left hand that is not good at pushing. I'll put that with the wheel with the luggage, and I'll push myself. Then again, I can push myself with just with my leg only. My
right,
leg is strong enough to just push my leg, and I have a pretty strong leg now where I can grab the. You have to have a rolling type bag with this, but also I'll just throw the luggage on my lap, and I'll wheel just like this, and I'll just wheel it. I'll push myself with the luggage on my lap. So there's
right,
all kinds of options, but it depends on how strong you are. And but the wheeling type, just if you just take your time and you give yourself enough time before your flight
right,
on your first flight, of course, I think you should, of course, give yourself a little bit more time. But they do provide the assistance there. That's what I'm saying. So you don't have to worry about pushing yourself throughout the whole airport. The
right.
hard part, what I figured out, I don't get pushed anymore. In the beginning, I did.
Right.
Now I'm a lot stronger, and I don't want those guys. Half the guys, like, they want, they do deserve tips because they did push you, but
Right,
uh, yeah. But that's the hard part. If you have to tip them from the first flight, the second flight, when you land, and then your
right,
returning flight back and forth. So it's like, it's multiple tips.
right,
But if you're able to do it, then do it. Right? Do it on your own. But well, the beneficial part of getting pushed is if you don't know the airport. And you're in a wheelchair. So if you don't know the airport, you don't want to be pushing yourself everywhere. You want to get pushed to the Uber ride, and those guys will bring you directly to the where Uber gets picked up and all that stuff.
right. Okay, yeah, yeah. That's the plan. The plan is eventually to travel alone, and I think I could do it. Just I have to do preparation, but I'm one of those dudes that prepares for everything. Well, like I'll prepare for everything that's going to go wrong. I'm going to be like, what if there's a plane crash and I have to get to my wheelchair, and then what if I have to eat somebody, right? Like fucking,
Yeah,
I got to figure out how to
I
take the guy down. All
if
right.
there's ever a situation like that, I just like, what? I lived long enough. Oh, this is it.
No, I got no problem with eating a guy. I'll be like, I got no problem with it. As long as I could get to my wheelchair,
Yeah.
as long as I could get to the wheelchair and have like some kind of spear, which I assume I would make if we crashed and we were living in this Lord of the Flies kind of
Or, or,
kind of situation.
or just
Uh,
have some attachments to your cane. Have some
dude,
little bit of
I
attachments.
want to make attachments to the chair. Okay, I want to
Oh,
be able to
there you go.
hit a button, gun pops out. Yeah, I'd make it happen. Um, so, so yeah, the chair that you have now, the new one. What's the name of it, or what's the name brand?
I haven't looked at. I literally was gonna look into it. I just because I wanted to see like how much does this chair cost? Because he hooked me up. But I have. I think it starts with a Q or something like that. But I want to look into it myself. But I was gonna ask you this too. I was like, yeah, would you recommend the chair the new one you got, or would you recommend for first
Now,
time people getting?
it was $800, um, and it's the name of the company. Man, it's something weird. It's like Go for Comfort. So
Okay.
I originally was like, I saw the name and I was like, nope, no way. That's an old people chair. There's no way I'm getting that, right?
Yeah.
But then I clicked on the picture and I started looking at what these people were doing in it,
Yeah.
and they were just popping the back off, folding it up, popping the wheels off, throwing it in their regular car, and they,
Yeah.
and they just have a regular sized car. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And
Yeah,
then
because you could just sit down and you could just pop the wheels off, throw it in the back seat. You don't have to really get out and do all that. You
right,
could sit
right,
down first and take it apart.
or passenger seat, even if you have nobody in the car with you.
Yeah.
So I saw that. Then I saw the guys like just motoring through the grass and in the dirt, and I was like, oh, that's the first time I've ever seen that in a wheelchair commercial, right?
Yeah.
Um, and there's also a company that I just found out. I watch a lot of these tech channels on YouTube, right? Like these
Yeah.
photography channels and videographer channels. And they were at a place where a guy started up a company called Not a Wheelchair Company, right? And he became successful on YouTube because excuse me, because he would do like home remodeling or whatever, and his channel took off. He was making like $1 million a month or whatever just on that. So he took that money, and he was married to a woman that's permanently in a wheelchair. So he started
Okay.
up a company called Not a Wheelchair Company, and they make wheelchairs, but they make these sick wheelchairs that could go like with tank treads on them, so
Okay.
you can go
For
hunting.
certain reasons, right? That it
Yeah,
has a reason behind
specific
it.
reasons for specific people. and
Yeah.
and I saw some of those chairs, and I was like, well, I probably need to wheel in the grass before I could tank tread in the grass, right? So I was like, let me try this chair out, and I got it within 10 days, 8 days, and yeah, I love it ever since. It's like my primary wheelchair now.
Oh,
Um,
100%.
yeah, because I'm gonna do this one when I travel and everything else, and it's lighter than the other wheelchairs. I think it's 26 pounds as opposed to 35 or 40 pounds.
That's the benefit of a lot of these non-medical. So like I say medical, but like these ones that are you get one of your first wheelchairs. A lot of people tend to get these medical ones.
Yeah,
You would consider like an old person wheelchair or whatever. But the average looking wheelchair
right,
is your medical ones that your insurance provides, and those ones are a little bit more heavier. But they are, I would consider, a little bit more comfortable and a little bit more easy to move around. Like my bigger ones are my most used ones, but the lighter one, the benefit of having the new one I got, it's a lot lighter. I'm still not used to taking that rim on and off yet, and I'm
right,
trying to keep it clean and nice because trying to keep it inside the truck versus putting on the
right,
truck bed.
right.
Because you put on the truck bed, it's gonna get messed up, and it's brand new, so it's like, I don't want to mess it up. So now I'm even trying to think about what I could put in my truck bed to not scratch it up as much and trying to make it last. But
Do
yeah,
you
the
like
benefit.
rhino liner in your truck?
I have just a basic old school truck bed, nothing lined on it or nothing. So I
Right.
wanted to get some padding now, just to
Mm,
put in a piece of padding on there. That way, even like it's not a blanket, but something that's weather resistant, and
right,
that way it doesn't mess up my wheelchair. Where I could do what I was saying was build it when I need it, and then when I'm done with it, put it in the back of the truck. But the thing is, how I do at my house is I leave my wheelchair at my front door and I hop up the stairs and then I have a wheelchair inside the house, right? So I have the luxury of having many wheelchairs.
right.
Some people might not have that luxury, right? So some people would just might have one wheelchair. So they might travel with the same wheelchair to inside the
Right.
house, outside the house. Um, so then, yeah, having that lighter wheelchair is a lot more beneficial because you're not going to have to carry this heavy medical wheelchair versus like the one you got and the one I got are a lot lighter. Like I think mine's about the same weight, like 20 pounds, 26 pounds, something light like that.
Yeah, yeah, and
So
it's
that's where I think it has its benefits. Other than the wheels coming off, let's just say if you didn't get that one with the wheels coming off, it's still benefit to get a lighter wheelchair for the reasons of putting it in your car, bringing it up any stairs that needs to be brought up. Of course, some people will need assistance with it. I'm able to one hand wheelchair. I'm able to get upstairs with the wheelchair pretty easily. But yeah,
yeah.
I
Well, it's
definitely would
like
recommend it.
my father was helping me a lot, right? And then
Yeah,
I was like, listen, I can't be having this 80-year-old man huffing a 40-pound wheelchair in the back of the truck, right?
yeah, yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, I can't be doing this, right?
That's like
So
my dad.
I
Yeah,
got these lighter ones so that I could get it in the truck or in the car or whatever, and it's just easier. So, um, but it was worth like the money. It was absolutely worth the money, and
So
the
you think the wheelchair is was out of all three things that you got that you showed today, or that we didn't show the wheelchair, of course, but we're talking about the wheelchair. But out of your crutches, your cane, the wheelchair, you think the best investment is to invest into the wheelchair versus investing to
100%, yeah, a hundred
because
percent,
I agree. I agree with the same thing. I think if anything, invest more into the wheelchair because you're going to use that majority of the time.
right.
Unless you're an amputee that just is does good in crutches and is happy in crutches the whole time, then go with the best crutches, right? But if you're not, if you're using, if you're going to be in our condition, you could, I think investing into the wheelchair versus investing into expensive crutches or expensive canes.
Oh yeah,
Those are
well,
not.
especially since a lot of people when they first get out, that they're not just going to hop on crutches. I mean, unless
Nah.
you know motivated to the point beyond what I was, and I was pretty motivated to walk again. You're going to get you're going to be in the chair a lot. And
Yeah.
if you're going to be in a chair, yes, being in a chair sucks, right? But don't look at it that way. Think of it like, if I'm going to be in a chair, I want to be able to do the most that
Yeah.
like, I want to be as normal as I can be in that chair. And something like this actually makes it that way. You
Oh,
know,
100%.
I'm actually thinking about getting another one of these and tossing all the medical wheelchairs that I have in the house, or at
Yeah.
least putting them away in some kind of storage.
I would
Be-
say put them away because man, you having like I have all these multiple wheelchairs too, but now I have it for multiple areas. But also, if one goes bad, let's say if
right,
you have spoke rims, I
right,
had spoke rims before and they crinkled on me. Right? If they crinkle on you, you have a backup wheelchair. It's always good to
right.
have a backup wheelchair.
Yeah, yeah. No, I have one that I'm just gonna throw away because it has all of a sudden, one of the ball bearings fell out in the
Okay.
actual axle.
Okay.
Um, so that makes no sense to even keep. So I'm getting rid of that one. And
Yeah.
I mean, you have a house. I have a small apartment, so
Yeah.
I don't have the room to keep 3 or 4 wheelchairs here.
Yeah.
As
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
you know, but I definitely want a wheelchair that's travel specific. And I, I also know that even if you get the leg and you're walking fine on it, a lot of times when you're at home, you'll have the leg off. All right, because
Oh, yeah. Because
uh,
it depends, and especially it depends on your size of your house and all that. It's just not the best situation to always have your leg on. Below the knee amputees are different than above. Below the
right,
knees might have their leg on more often than us,
mm,
um, because they have their knee there, so they'll probably have the option of having the leg on majority of the time. But if you're in the wheelchair condition like us, um, yeah, just having the wheelchair, it just will benefit you more than having the leg on in your house because you can't carry a lot of things, when you have the leg on, or not with the leg on, because you may have that balance. But if you're using crutches or canes, in that, what I'm saying, you can't. If your hands are in crutches, you can't carry anything.
yeah, yeah, you
So
can't.
having the wheelchair is beneficial on that part. You could carry, like for me, for example, I have my animals, my reptiles. If I was gonna crutch around with reptiles or crutch around trying to clean them all day, it's a pain in the butt. Carrying around buckets and all that stuff, it's a
Right.
pain in the butt. You would need a wheelchair and all those. So the wheelchair, there's definitely a benefit to it.
Do you have a sink in your reptile room?
No, sink isn't. I use the bathroom right next to my room.
Okay, yeah, the sink is the key.
Very better. Yeah,
Right.
definitely, and the close quarters too. Like, well, what I do too for like reptile stuff, we could go to another day. But I just have like options of spray, like like I'll have stuff ready that's easy for me to like just give water to,
Right.
versus bringing cups and carrying stuff. I make it my cleaning a lot more easier to take care of my animals. Since I'm in a wheelchair and in this condition.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. With mine, I just make sure everything's eye level. Like, I wouldn't have the racks behind you that you have,
Yeah,
just simply because I would have to get up to pull those racks
you
out.
have to stand up on the top ones. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I keep everything eye level, but Freedom Breeder makes those half level racks.
Oh yeah.
They'd be
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah. Be
Uh,
per-
so, but yeah, we'll talk about that another time. Dude, that hour went by fast, man.
I know.
I really think we're getting this thing down. Anyway, we hope what anything that we talked about actually helps somebody, right? I mean, that's the whole point that we're doing this. Help somebody or gives people ideas, and maybe you guys could see what we do, take that idea, work on it, and make it better, and then give us advice. In 3 months
Exactly.
or 6 months. Yeah, that
Yeah,
that
because
would
I can learn something from you. You can learn something from me.
yeah.
And honestly, with this podcast, this is only my second time doing this podcast, so I'm only going to get better and hopefully, give a little bit more information in the future.
Dude, you're crushing it now. I won't worry about it, man. Wouldn't worry about it. But anyway, we will be back. We will see you next month. Again, we come out on the 28th of every month, Rise of the Machines. And maybe, there may come a point where we may do this every 2 weeks if we both have the time. And if not, we'll just keep it every month because that's what we have the time for right now, at
Yeah.
least. So we appreciate you guys listening, and we'll see you next month. All right. Say goodbye, Benny.
All right. Thank you guys so much.
Take it easy, guys.